A very good evening. You're watching India Global. So good to be back. I'm Gaurie Dwivedi. Let's start the show with headlines coming in this Thursday evening. First up, US President Donald Trump calls Ukraine President Zelensky a dictator as the feud between the two intensifies. In fact, Donald Trump says that Russia holds the cards in peace talks. This comes in as Zelensky is set to meet Trump's Ukraine envoy. Reports indicate that Ukraine has blocked the Trump-owned Truth Social ahead of such talks. Terror organization Hamas returns bodies of 4 Israeli hostages held captive since the 7th of October in 2023. Hamas has released bodies of the youngest Israeli hostages, and they've claimed that all 4 hostages died by Israeli airstrikes. That's the claim made by the terror organization. Bangladesh, India conclude first high-level border talks. This is the first high-level border talks that have taken place between the two countries since Sheikh Hasina's ouster. PGP says the reports of attacks on minorities in Bangladesh are exaggerated. India and Bangladesh agreed to address border crimes and illegal crossings in that meeting. Donald Trump on Tesla's entry into India says that it's very unfair to America. In fact, Trump versus Musk, India at the center of the storm over Tesla entry into one of the world's largest automobile markets. And India Global gets you exclusive conversation with the first Indian origin German election candidate from Jaipur to Bundestag, Siddharth Mudgal, on NDTV. All right, the first story that we are tracking on India Global is the latest that's unfolding in Pakistan. A key ally of Imran Khan has said that an offer was being made to the jailed former Prime Minister for the nullification of his disqualification amidst reports of the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf seeking some sort of backdoor rapprochement with the military, with the deep state. Sahibzada Hamiz Raza, who is the chief of the Sunni Ittihad Council, made this claim, saying that while the PTI founder did not demand the release of any party leader during the talks with the Sharif government, but in fact an offer is being made to set aside his disqualification in the next 3 months. He's been disqualified on more than one occasion because, remember, there are multiple cases of conviction against Imran Khan. The Election Commission of Pakistan disqualified Khan first in August 2023 or 5 years from holding any public office following a trial court's verdict in the first Tosha Khana case. This development comes after reports indicated that the PTI was eager to restart some sort of rapprochement talks with the establishment. Remember, the weeks-long negotiations have gone in the past, leading to absolutely no conclusion whatsoever. Imran Khan remains popular. His clarion calls have led to a lot of people coming on the streets. There have been logjam both on the streets and in the political circles in Pakistan, leading to a situation where it could lead to major political security crisis. And what it started was the judicial reforms, or supposed judicial reforms in Pakistan. Okay, let's get in Batul Rajput, who's a journalist joining me live from Lahore to talk to us about the latest that's unfolding there. Thank you so much, Mr. Rajput, for speaking to me. And let me start by asking you, this is not the first time that one is hearing talks of possible rapprochement between Imran Khan and the ISI and the military. How much should we pay attention to these talks, given that they've been circling around for several months now?
Thank you so much for inviting. This is a big news. Whenever we hear to this kind of stuff that PTI has shown interest, or there is an unconfirmed news of initiative of talks within or by the establishment, it has become a breaking news every time. But let me tell you seriously, at this very moment in Pakistan, it does not get any news value because in the past we have seen that Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, primarily led by Imran Khan, it has literally wasted a lot of political opportunities where it could capitalize just by sitting with political parties. But unfortunately, Imran Khan does not consider political parties as much as he considers the military establishment. You very boldly said ISI, but primarily when we address this issue in Pakistan, we say that there are some issues with the political party and the establishment. Because it was not only the agency, it was some other military officials. Those were targeted politically by Imran Khan. So it has become a personal grudge when it comes to uh, when it comes to the intensity of this matter. When we address this as journalists, we really feel that Imran Khan has to uh, go two
Where do you
steps
see
back
this
to
going?
address this.
Ms. Rajput, where do you see this going from here on?
Primarily, we don't take it seriously when we hear the news of talks. For you, it is a news. I'm not seeing it going anywhere, because Imran Khan literally says that he only wants to speak to Chief of Army Staff, which is not a political way out. And in the political parties, there is this opinion, whether it's six-party alliance, whether it's government, or the smaller groups that support Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, they have been pushing Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf to sit with the political groups and make a political way out. But unfortunately, Imran Khan does not seems to be convinced. So as long as it is not a political way, we cannot see anything.
Okay.
We cannot see anything materializing out of it.
All right. I end this with what I started this with, which is that this is not the first time these reports have come to surface. They have been circling for some time now. Thank you so much, Ms. Rajput, for speaking to me from Lahore on a story India needs to be very mindful and cognizant of. Shifting focus now, days after Tesla started hiring staff in India, signaling a possible entry into the Indian market, US President Donald Trump has said that any potential plans of the EV maker to build a factory in India to circumvent that country's tariffs would be very unfair. The US president made the remarks during a joint interview with Tesla CEO Elon Musk for Fox News' Sean Hannity. In fact, President Trump recalled that he called out India's high duty on cars during Prime Minister Modi's recent visit to the United States, but agreed to work towards an early trade deal and resolve their possible standoff when it comes to tariffs. Turning attention to the latest unfolding in Ukraine or about Ukraine. Well, in the last 24 hours, the growing feud between US President Donald Trump and his Ukrainian counterpart, Volodymyr Zelenskyy, has escalated to new heights, or well, one would say new lows, given the fact that Donald Trump is now calling Zelenskyy a dictator. If there were any lingering doubts about Donald Trump's view of the Ukraine war and America's support of Kiev's fight against Russia, he put them to rest in no uncertain terms. So in fact, President Trump said that Zelenskyy wanted to keep the gravy train of foreign aid running. Very, very strong comments coming in against Ukraine president. In fact, this is a day after he appeared to blame Ukraine for starting the war. And what really has been going around in a war that's been going on for almost 3 years? Take a look at this report.
Modestly successful comedian. He refuses to have elections, is low in a dictator without elections. He's not going to have a country left. Got to move.
These words spoken by the US President Donald Trump are not aimed at one of Washington's adversaries. Instead, Zelenskyy, one of the US allies, finds himself at the end of the Trump barrel. The sharp comments were in response to the Ukrainian president's remark that goes like this.
Президент Трамп з великою повагою до нього відносимося як до лідера народу, який ми дуже поважаємо, американський народ, який нас постійно підтримує. На жаль, живе в цьому дезінформаційному просторі.
The sudden war of words erupted after the Russia-US talks in Riyadh this week. Trump falsely blamed Zelenskyy for starting the Ukraine war. This blatant denial of the truth shocked even some Republicans back in the United States. International affairs experts have said that Trump has upended US's foreign policy in just a few days. Wars force people to pick a side, and Trump seems to be cozying up to Vladimir Putin. Zelenskyy has found support in European and UK allies. But Ukraine's largest supplier of weapons, the United States, seems to be swiftly gravitating towards Kremlin's rhetoric on the war. It's been almost 3 years of Russia's invasion, and Trump's attacks are playing into one of Moscow's rationales for the war, that the elected Ukrainian leader was illegitimate. The US has initiated talks on achieving peace in the region. This Trump-Zelensky public spat risks derailing those efforts, or worse, make matters more complicated. With Vishal Vivek, Bureau Report, NDTV World.
Sophie Fullerton, who's a professor of politics at Fordham University, joins me to talk more on this. Sophie, good to have you on the show. How do you see this complete swing in pendulum as far as American politics is concerned? How Zelensky is now being portrayed in the present administration?
I first want to say that such comments made by Trump are not only inappropriate, but they're shameful. This is a country that was invaded by an aggressor and did not ask for any of what Russia is doing on Ukraine. I will say, given Trump's history and his penchant for viewing Putin more in a sympathetic light, I'm not shocked with the way that this is playing out. What's concerning to me, though, is that Putin is an authoritarian dictator that has not only caused chaos in Ukraine, but also in Syria. And if Trump allows for any type of diplomatic relations to be normalized with Putin, what does it mean for the future and what does it mean for other countries? Zelensky has said in the past that if we allow normalization with Russia, we'll see Russia at Europe's door, and we'll see more of this type of authoritarian aggression normalized globally.
So that is one aspect in terms of how Zelensky is now being portrayed. Talk to us about where do you see this going in terms of a possible peace negotiations on this conflict?
To be honest, I don't know, because Trump is very erratic with his foreign policy. We're not talking about a calculated individual and very intellectual when it comes to his foreign policy decisions. We're talking about someone who's very erratic and very much interested in his own self-interests. For Trump's self-interest, that means advancing his America First policies and ideologies, be it isolationism or globalization. So it's hard to say. What is more progressive or positive for me to see is that there's some Republican pushback domestically. What we've been seeing, instead of pushback from Republicans, there's been this go-ahead, basically from Republicans. Sorry, go ahead. Arguing that, go ahead.
Okay. I'm afraid I'm out of time, but Sophie, I'm going to give you this airtime. I commit sometime next week, because this story isn't going anywhere, and it's going to be alive next week as well. But shifting focus now to External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar, who will be in Johannesburg for the G20 meeting of foreign ministers on the 20th and 21st of February. While Dr. Jaishankar's American counterpart, Marco Rubio, will skip the event, but his Chinese counterpart and Russian counterparts are set to attend the meeting. While Dr. Jaishankar is likely to informally meet these two, that is Wang Yi and Sergei Lavrov, a formal bilateral meeting is also not ruled out as per some reports and will depend on the schedule of the leaders. Jaishankar had last met Wang at the G20 Rio summit in November, during which they discussed ways to take the relationship forward following the border disengagement talks on the sidelines. Jaishankar also met his counterparts from Singapore and Brazil, where they discussed important bilateral issues. Moving on, terror organization Hamas has handed over the bodies of 4 Israeli hostages that were held in Gaza since the 7th of October 2023. This is the first time that the group has released deceased captives since they invaded Israel. The hostages are said to include the bodies of Shiri Bibas, who was 32 when she and her 2 young sons, that is Ariel 4 and Kafir, just 9 months old, were abducted from their home in southern Israel more than 16 months ago. Hamas had previously claimed, without providing any evidence, that the Biba's children and their mother were killed in an Israeli airstrike. Hamas is also set to release 8 living hostages, exceeding the earlier expectation of 3. All right, on that note, we slip into a very short break. We come back with lots more on the other side, including an exclusive conversation with Siddharth Mudgal, who is one of the candidates for the upcoming German election. Stay with us.
Ladies and gentlemen, we found the reason why Britain hasn't been so great of late. It's because the country hasn't been eating enough Weetabix.
It makes sense. I've been eating croissants.
Me too. We should deliver Weetabix to where it's needed most, to whoever's in charge of fixing potholes. VAR.
Yes.
And drivers who park like this.
Yeah.
To Britain, we must say, have you had your Weetabix?
100 055 7976 or search Gosh Lottery now for a chance to win big prizes and make more wins happen.
This baby bear is terrified, torn from her mother's paws at a tender age. They will force her to live alone in a tiny, filthy cage, like so many bears driven mad by loneliness, rubbing their wounds raw against the bars, suffering cruelly day after day, year after year, just for people's entertainment. Four Paws found little Potap crammed into a tiny, squalid cage. He'd been there for almost 9 years, lonely and isolated. There are so many more young bears who need your help. Please call 0800 038 0455 or text CUB3 to 78866 and give £2 a month to help rescue them. Every month, your £2 could help us free more bears, help give bears the veterinary care they need, and help them live happy, healthy lives in the freedom of our natural sanctuaries. Call 0800 038 0455 or text CUB3 to 78866 and give £2 a month and help Four Paws free bears from agonizing torture. Please, don't leave these bears to suffer for a single day more.
Welcome back. You're watching India Global. We now turn our attention to the German election. Germany goes to polls on the 23rd of February, and joining me is the first Indian origin German election candidate on NDTV. Well, from Jaipur to Bundestag, Siddharth Mudgal has had quite a journey, and let's get him to understand more about what his journey has been like. Siddharth, good to have you on NDTV. Before we talk about your plans and what you wish to do, I want to first ask you about your journey from Jaipur and now to Germany, which is now your second home or your primary home now, actually.
Thanks, Gaurie, and thanks for having me on the show. I've been in Germany for 21 years. I came to Germany as a student a long time back, 21 years ago. And I came here to study, and then as things changed, I decided to stay in Germany. And Germany's home for me now.
It is. So what's your vision when it comes to India-German ties? You've done a lot of work in the last decade in terms of associations and business collaborations. What's your vision for the future?
Germany and India are natural partners. They need to do more together. And the current government, the BJP government, and also in the past, we are building on this collaboration. So it is on one side on the trade side. So we need more investments in Germany. We need more jobs in Germany. And now the things have changed. India should be investing in Germany, right? And that is one thing which is super important right now, specifically in the area of manufacturing. There are a lot of small and mid-sized companies where Germany, there's no succession planning, and India can profit from this scenario. And obviously there's a lot of things going around digitalization and artificial intelligence, where Germany can learn a lot from India.
Talk to us about the Indian diaspora. It's about 3 lakh plus Talk to us about it, the fields where it's making the mark the most, and the issues that matter to the diaspora in these German elections.
So first of all, the Indian diaspora has increased threefold in the last 20 years. And this is only, let's say, the Indian citizens here. And then there are people like myself who are German citizens of Indian origin, right? Mostly what people are worried about in the Indian diaspora is the right-wing party, for example, AFD, and what does it mean for them, right? So this is one question which a lot of people are asking right now. But let me also tell you the biggest issues facing the Germany as a country are not migration, but rather the economic downturn. And when I talk to people in the community, but also rest of the people, this is something which they're very concerned about. Unemployment, the gross domestic product going down, the trade volumes going up and down. And this instability is something which is worrying a lot of people. And migration obviously is an issue with the recent attacks in Munich, where unfortunately 2 people died, a mother and a child. These are some things which are also of concern to people in Germany.
So one thing that one keeps reading about these German elections sitting here in India is the number of times Elon Musk seems to be featured in stories and issues related to the election. Talk to us about what's actually the role Elon Musk may play or is playing in these elections.
Look, information is power. Elon Musk sits at the source of, let's say, a big tool, a big instrument, which is Twitter. But I must say, Elon Musk, he should be focusing more on American politics or in his home country, but for that matter of fact, South Africa, rather than German politics. He, according to me, doesn't know much about the Alternative for Germany, which is a right-wing party. They are extremists in nature and all sort of things. So I recommend Elon Musk better literature so that he knows who he wants to support and he does not want to support. It's erratic what he's doing, but once again, it's a choice. He's a business leader. He might have some reasons to do that. I do not think that's the right way to do it.
You're in these elections, you're contesting, you're meeting people on ground. You said economy is one of the biggest issues that the people are likely to vote on. What's your agenda to address some of these issues that voters are going to take to the polls?
So I think some of the issues which are facing German economy is bureaucracy and red tape. So this is something which I'm concretely saying that any sort of issuing of government clearances should be done in a record amount of time. This time should be reduced by 50% in the next 1 to 2 years by setting up a one-stop shop for such clearances. The second important thing, according to me, is how do we revive the economy, specifically the small and mid-sized companies in Germany, so the so-called Mittelstand, which are basically 99% of our companies, more or less. How do we make sure that they get jobs back into the country? And for them, I'm proposing tax benefits, tax discounts, and actually a bonus. So for every €1 they invest in latest technologies, artificial intelligence, robotics, the government should give them 10 cents on top. So this is something which we are focusing on. Also then bonuses for companies who are getting jobs back into Germany. So that's an important aspect. We need more jobs for our people here, irrespective of which country they come from. That's something which we need to be focusing on as well. And then on digitalization, I'm proposing that we set up national innovation centers, 5 in number, it could be 6, but basically investing 10 billion euros every year specifically on digitalization and innovation, which will also create jobs, but it will also strengthen our relationships with partner countries.
Okay.
Last but not the least, I'm also proposing that we specifically reach out to partner countries which share our democratic values to invest in Germany. And this is something which will actually help our partnership with India as well.
You know, I want to ask you this, Siddharth, as a member of the diaspora, as an immigrant yourself, how do you see the rise of the right movement in EU and in Germany as well now?
So specifically, there's a general tendency right now of people trying to blame everything which is going wrong in the economy, in the countries, on migrants. Now, this is an easy choice to make, right? But if you go into the details there are basically 2 types of migrants. One are, I would say, migrants who are coming here who Germany needs, so people who are qualified, educated, etc. And then on the other way around, It's people who need Germany, and our responsibility, moral responsibility as a mature democracy, is to support people who need us, right?
Right.
And this philosophy is part of, let's say, the European system. And I think politicians need to do a better job in making this clear to the public, and so that other right-wing extremist parties do not misuse fear or the so-called angst which the German people have to be instrumentalized.
Siddharth, in a couple of days, we will know which way Germany actually votes. But really appreciate you taking out the time and speaking to us, and wish you the very best in these elections. 24th of February is when we will know who has Germany elected to take the country forward. On that note, time out on this edition of India Global. We slip into a break. On the other side is a very exclusive conversation with two professors from Harvard to talk to us about the India-US relationship under Donald Trump's second administration and what could be the key driving focus areas in that relationship. Stay with us and watch that special conversation.
In today's interconnected world, India's voice is more crucial than ever. When India speaks, the world listens. At NDTV World, we are that voice, bringing you intelligent and insightful news from India and beyond. From geopolitics and diplomacy to economic shifts, migrations, tech disruptions, and the stories of our diaspora. We cover the news that shapes our global future. NDTV World, your new home for global news, is here.
Another huge theme in the book, of course, is friendships. Various friendships. But let's start out early. Your closest friend was Kent. And you associated with him, you got on very well with him, you found him to be similar with, in many ways with you. You went on long cruises with him. And then you lost him. And you write, I had retreated into myself, watching a slideshow in my mind's eye, taking through images of recent days, grasping for evidence that what I had heard wasn't true. He died tragically. Could you tell us a little bit about the loss you felt?
Yeah, my childhood really only had this one traumatic event in it. I'd had grandparents die, but at a pretty old age, and I'd never even contemplated the idea that somebody close to me, not to mention my very best friend, would just be killed. He had signed up for this mountain climbing class that both he and I and his parents thought was a little unusual because that wasn't what he was good at, but he was, once he decided to do something, put huge energy into it. And it was just so shocking. The headmaster called me up, made sure my parents were with me. But I had a few months there where I was just so taken aback that life could have that uncertainty. Who else would die or disappear? And he, was kind of a wonderful kid who I owe a lot to, because the idea of thinking about what career we would engage in, did ambassadors make good money? Did generals, did scientists, did CEOs? He got me reading business magazines.
Professor Kompas, Professor Gandhi, thank you so much for speaking to me on NDTV. Let me start first by asking, in terms of the big thing when you see, we're talking at a time when there's been an important meeting that has taken place between Prime Minister Modi and President Trump. In your assessment, how do you see the larger India-US relationship going? It's not just about the politics aspect of it. I think economy and trade is going to be really central to this relationship going forward. Your thoughts on that, sir?
Yes, I think the U.S.-India relationship from an India perspective, if I kind of view that lens, is an extremely important one. I would say it's right up there, and for a variety of reasons. So one is on technology flow, like you said, and we can get into that more. The second is on capital flows. I mean, ultimately, India does need more capital to grow and sustain its economy. It's the highest growth large economy, but it is capital deficient, and so capital flows is the second one. Talent flows is the third one. So there's a huge number of areas where U.S.-India collaboration, I think, is actually, underperforming, and therefore there's massive upside opportunity to kind of take it to the next step.
Professor Gompers, if you were to talk, about the technology aspect of it and also the kind of opportunities it throws up, the one very interesting thing between when, this meeting of the two heads of state was the focus on technology, whether it is biotech, whether it is semiconductors, whether it is defense. How do you see that helping and really becoming a catalyst for India when it comes to starting the ecosystem for all these technologies?
Yeah, so if we look at the last decade, one of the global success stories in sort of startups is clearly India. It's transition to an economy in which many of the best and brightest want to go, they want to start something, they want to build a national champion. And the last decade was really driven by companies focused on doing things in the Indian market. It's a huge market. You can build a multi-billion-dollar unicorn success by focusing on India. But I think that your question sort of is the right one, because if we look going forward, I think over the next decade, we're going to see almost as many global success stories. I think, India currently has, I think, something like 117 unicorns. But 98% of those are focused on the Indian market itself. I think what you're going to see is, given this new focus on collaboration, focus on technology, we're going to see centers of excellence in biotechnology, in AI, in other areas in which Indian startups and Indian technology will be sort of global leaders in many areas.
In fact, you spoke about AI. I wanted to come on that. There's also been an AI Action Summit. India was one of the co-chairs. Again, a lot of focus on the technologies of the future, which is AI. How do you see India's role in that, and how do you think that will build the ecosystem that one wants?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a couple of things. So the first ingredient that India has in abundance is just talent. It's got great STEM education. It's got great universities. I think the piece which has sort of been growing is both the public and the private funding of the sort of the R&D component of that. And I think there'll be increasing global interest. Again, from one of the areas that I study is certainly sort of the venture capital space. And one of the things that we've seen is this increasing flow of capital, primarily from the U.S. into India. And back to this point that I think that's been the biggest missing ingredient. It's got the talent, but you need the capital flows to fund the R&D, to fund sort of the science, and then we're going to see the emergence of these global winners.
I'm going to come to the semiconductor bit in just a while. You wanted to add on that, Professor Gandhi? Go ahead, take this. Yeah.
So just adding on that, I think one of the key things, for example, there are a couple of examples of companies just on that in terms of the talent piece. So one of them told me that essentially a PhD in India with the same qualification and same caliber of a PhD, say, in the US one costs 6x as to what an Indian PhD costs. And so if you think about having the same talent in terms of the R&D, because India has really been missing the whole aspect of deep tech. It's really been much more of SaaS and consumer facing, and how do we kind of scale it up quickly and things like that. So I think going forward, for India to become a bigger center of excellence, this tapping in of deep high quality talent, and not just the talent that kind of supports outsourcing and things like that, but this is deep research and development type of talent, along with longer term capital orientation, is, I think, which, as Professor Gompers just said, is really what is kind of going to change, in my view, in the next 10 years.
And do you see the role of the state, or how do you see the role of the state in that? Because yes, there is now a large, vibrant tech ecosystem in India. It is driven and geared towards specific industries. You mentioned consumer facing yourself. But, from a larger strategic point of view, others also need to be pushed. What do you think would be the role of the state there?
So typically the role of the state could be, providing a capital, but in this case, I think that the real role of the Indian state should be to facilitate the flowing of private capital. India, again, just given all the various demands, given the demands on education, healthcare, poverty alleviation, given all those demands, I think India has been lacking the capital to actually invest in long-term, deep tech-oriented opportunities. But what it should do is create or facilitate both, whether it be through fiscal incentive systems, through physical infrastructure, through various incentive systems to actually facilitate both private capital and private talent going into the area.
You want to add to that, sir?
Yeah. So I couldn't agree more. And what's interesting here, and you talk about sort of the recent meetings between Trump and Modi, that the time is now for India. So if we think about the current tensions between the U.S. and China, and you were going to ask a second ago about semiconductors, there's a huge opportunity here for investment in semiconductor in India, given, again, both the engineering talent, the skills there. And so my own view is that if you set the playing field right, if you make it easier for private capital to come in, provide the infrastructure, I actually think that again, the opportunity in multiple sectors, semiconductors, AI, and the like, is absolutely enormous.
How do we sort of plug the gap? I mean, you mentioned, I'm going to come to you, sir, which is that you mentioned that we need to get some of those factors right. We have talent. We need to build in on the infrastructure. But if you were to probably just highlight, let's say, the top 2 ingredients for the sake of simplifying, which is, of course, a very important and a layered conversation. But to simplify it, if there were top 2 conditions that you would want specifically for semiconductors?
So specifically for semiconductors, one, I think the infrastructure has to be put in place to support the semiconductor industry. And then the second thing are on regulations about capital flows and incentives to bring that capital in. And if we think about some of the countries which have done it really, really well, look at Singapore, for example. Singapore is a tiny country, but the flow of both talent and capital into Singapore is driven by the fact that it's easy, the business regulations have been massively simplified. You've got the regulatory controls around capital, again, far simplified. And so what I would say is that relying on the private sector and allowing the private sector to operate in a way that isn't so regulatory heavy is probably the biggest and most important factor in my mind.
Professor Gandhi, you wanted to add to that?
So adding to that, in terms of the China plus one strategy, is building on what Professor Campos just said. So the China plus one strategy in India has been somewhat successful. If you think about it, but a few years ago there were no iPhones being built in India. Now a reasonable percentage of iPhones are being built in India. There's other examples like that, whether it be in automobiles. But again, when I speak with folks who are doing this, that there was so much more that could be done, and so much more could have come out of will come out of this meeting that you referred to that's just happened. But there still are a lot of hurdles. There are, whether it be regulation, whether it be land acquisition, whether it be labor laws and kind of clearing up this labor law. So there's given the policy pronouncements here in the last couple of years, I think the government clearly recognizes that, but I do think more could be done. The other thing I would say is that because, given the federal system, you'll see that there are clearly some states that have actually done a lot of this, are getting a disproportionate share of capital flowing in. And so therefore there are good examples of taking that kind of those, what I would say, best in class and scaling them up.
Yeah, so there are some enclaves of successful government policy and that have attracted more investments and more needs to be done. But the fact is some of these are state subjects,
Right.
So you cannot have central laws when it comes to land being one of them. Such a political hot potato. But coming back to, you mentioned the China plus one and the supply chains. Under President Trump, how do you see that evolving and allowing India, or do you see that allowing India more opportunities? Because that could also mean probably, the nature of Quad also changing from being almost like a soft power where, it's more about disaster recovery and, vaccines and that to becoming more about supply chains, Do you see that evolution happening and allowing India the opportunity? And how do you see that coming through in the next couple of years?
No, I clearly see that as an opportunity. So it's one of the things where there's the government policy or dialogue, but ultimately supply chains are driven by the private sector. And so it's really the private companies that are, disproportionately perhaps reliant on China to kind of move that to India. And there again, that's where the policy comes in. I think a lot more will happen. I would say that the production-linked incentive scheme that the government has put in place has been positively received. I think it's structured in a way that, stimulates investment in the near term, but takes away subsidies in the long term once performance targets are met. And I think those are the kind of policies which need to be continued. But once you see more dialogue happening at the government-to-government level, I do think that it also encourages the private sector then to do more, because you're seeing a kind of political. As far as the Quad goes, I really don't have a point of view on that. It was set up more as a political kind of system. So I'm not sure whether the Quad really would replace or be a kind of a trade bloc for supply chains. I mean, I think Australia, Japan, India are going to kind of do their own thing from a supply chain standpoint.
Sure. The only reason I said that is because under President Trump, it could just be going in a different direction. But, coming to the tech part of it, and the other aspect, we spoke about talent, we spoke about how there is a lot of, Indian talent, which sort of also pushes a lot of the IT sector and tech industries here in America. But we also talk at a time when there's been a lot of discussion around should tech talent from India be allowed here freely, or should there be more barriers that should be created? Of course, there is a political connotation to this conversation, but that has really been amplified, hasn't it, sir? Yeah. Whether you take the H-1B visas or whether you take any other form of allowing more tech talent from India to enter, how do you see that evolving and going?
I recently wrote a paper where we looked at all the founders of US-backed venture-backed companies, and we were able to identify the immigrants versus the local, the American founders. And what we found is that 22% of US venture-backed tech founders are immigrants who came for either their education or to work. But the interesting thing is that that 22% is far more successful. So if you compare that 22% to, say, American-founded companies, they have something like, their returns are 50% higher, more likely to go public, and so they're far more successful. So the US clearly benefits from this. How does India benefit? One of the things that we've actually seen, and we have the data to show this as well, is that there's a huge returning population. So one of the things that we've seen over the last really 5 to 7 years is that as the tech and startup scene in India has flourished and grown, we've actually seen a reverse brain drain in which more and more of the sort of Indian founders and those who have joined startups are returning and starting that next generation of companies in India. And so I actually think this flow of talent in and out of the US, it's great for the US, but I actually think it's great for India. And especially if we think about moving to deep tech, I think it's going to be the seeds of many of the best deep tech companies in India, where sort of Indians who have come to the US, have experience in the top US deep tech companies, are going to see the opportunity to build something on a global scale in India. And so my own view is this is a good thing.
You want to come in on that, sir? The reverse brain drain that Professor Gompas was talking about?
Yeah, so I could maybe do it from, since we are sitting here at the Harvard Business School. So this is not technologists or the scientists, but if I look at just MBA students, compared to say 5 or 10 years ago, where Indian MBA students would want to stay back in the US, I'm seeing, I have a bunch of my own students in the last 3-4 years who have now startups. They're in Bangalore. Yeah. Who are basically gone right back. They were actually working on their business plans while they were here with the whole intention of going back. And so so you take the business education piece of it, you couple that with engineers and qualified PhDs, and you put that together, I think that's going to be a killer combination going forward.
Ladies and gentlemen,
We found the reason why Britain hasn't been so great of late is because the country hasn't been eating enough Weetabix.
it makes sense. I've been eating croissants.
We should deliver Weetabix to where it's needed most, to whoever's in charge of fixing potholes, VAR,
Yes.
and drivers who park like this.
Yes.
To Britain, we must say, have you had your Weetabix?
It's nice to have choices in life. Tony here chooses to get a new phone every year by exchanging his old one. Don't worry, Mike, you can get a new phone too. Big love to Gordon, who chooses a lifetime warranty to keep his phone lasting longer, just like his romance. Oh, love it. Keep your phone lasting longer, or you could get a new phone every year. The choice is yours at Vodafone.
Today, if you can think it, you can make it. But the same goes for cybercriminals. Because with AI, they can invade your online privacy, scam you, and bombard you with real-looking threats. That's why our VPN combines AI-powered scam detection with advanced online privacy protection. So you can live your best digital life. Norton VPN Ultimate. Advanced tech for advanced threats.
I'm a simple man, but now I'm in my 50s, things are getting a little more complicated. Retirement's peeking around the corner, and I wanted to make sure my family would be really looked after if anything happened to me. That's why I decided to learn more about over 50s life insurance from Cover Today. They're the only over 50s life insurer with no waiting period. Unlike other insurers who could make you wait up to 2 years, with Cover Today, you're fully covered from day one. And you're covered for the whole of your life. Plus, unlike other things in life, the price never goes up. Learning more can be simpler. Go online or talk to their friendly UK team in just one phone call.
Cover Today are the only over 50s life insurer with no waiting period and no annoying trips to the doctors either.
Now I'm with Cover Today, I can get on with something much more interesting.
Plus, you get your choice of a £125 gift card. To find out more about Cover Today, call our friendly UK team on 0808 143 4774 or visit covertoday.co.uk.
When I woke up, they said, Alyssa, you've got leukemia. We found out that the chemo wasn't working.
Cancer is still the biggest killer of children in the UK, but innovative new treatments could help beat cancer for more children like Alyssa.
I'm cancer-free now.
Text, call or search to give £3 a month and help build a new children's cancer centre at Great Ormond Street Hospital. So together, we can save more lives.
When you talk about the trade relationship between India and US, there's been a clear intent to increase that going forward. It's about $120 billion. The public intent is to double it in the next 5 to 6 years. What shape and form will that take? Because it cannot be that the industries that are doing well will be the ones that'll double up, right? How do you, as someone who understands business, as someone who knows where this future business would really lie, where do you see that growth potential really coming in for the bilateral trade to really increase from its present to double?
So I think there's a variety of areas, and also it could again be part of the China One Plus strategy, because so much of it right now, India's largest trade partner actually is China. So again, from a personal national security perspective, that there's an incentive to do that. But I think some of the things which was talked about, like whether it be space, defense, and I think even just basic things like consumer products, there is actually the opportunity to increase that flow between the two countries remains very high. It has been underperforming. I guess the counter to that would be that I'm not sure where the announcement around tariffs, at least what I read, is that the biggest negative impact on that will be on India and Brazil. So that's a big question mark in my mind, that if tariffs kind of go up and things become, the barriers are kind of put up, whether this doubling, it's hard for me to see how trade doubles when tariffs go up, at least in the near term.
Your thoughts on that, sir?
Yeah, so maybe I'm a little bit more of an optimist here. I think that certainly the Trump administration is using tariffs to get what they want. But I think strategically, if you think about where would the Trump administration want to source products and technology products and the like, it's not going to be China. Back to the iPhone example again. I think that when we look, and if we think about sort of the tech sector broadly, I think there's a tremendous opportunity to build value-added sort of tech sort of facilities and production and the like in India. Because and if I think about whether it be Apple, whether it be Google, whether it be any of these other tech companies, even in the biomedical space, you talked about that as well. I think that there's a tremendous opportunity, and I think the Trump administration would much rather build those kinds of bilateral trade relationships today with India as opposed to China, given some of the tensions that we've actually seen. And so while tariffs are waived as sort of this, listen, you need to give me what I want, I actually think at the end of the day, if I had to guess, 5 years from now, all of this will have been to the benefit of India.
And how much of a tool are they from a geopolitical point of view?
Interesting question. We can only speculate in terms of the inner workings of what President Trump thinks. But certainly, whether we see it on sort of the trade and business side, whether we see it in sort of geopolitical conflicts, he portrays himself as being somewhat crazy, and I think he does this in a shrewd way to try and get an agreement. So again, we can all have our assessment of whether or not we think that's good or bad, but I think he throws out crazy potential policies, and at the end of the day, there will be agreements.
So professors can get away by calling heads of state all sorts of things. Journalists, unfortunately, do not have that luxury. I won't say any of that. But let me then ask you this about we speaking about geostrategic, geopolitical aspects. The one thing that I also want to touch upon is that there is a huge expectation that the Russia-Ukraine war is set to end. Whatever may be the political solution, how do you see the larger impact of that? Because it's been an overhang. It's been an overhang from an economic point of view, from a trade point of view. You take the commodities market, all of it have seen an overhang of that war. If it comes to an end, how do you see that reshaping global trade, global finance? And that's a question to both of you.
Yeah. No, I understand, but I'm not sure I'm quite qualified to answer that question, quite honestly.
No, I'm just asking from
So,
understanding point of view.
Yeah, no, I mean, so again, I'm not going to express my own policies on this, but I mean, clearly, given the close relationships that India's had with both Russia and the U.S., I think to the extent that there is a reasonable peace agreement between Ukraine and Russia, again, I think that goes to the benefit of India, because I think it stabilizes both those relationships. And again, I'm not going to speak about where I think it should end, but I think if it were to end, I think that would be on a macro level good for India.
Mm-hmm. You don't want to add anything to that, sir? I mean, I wanted to.
Well, clearly it would be. India has come under a lot of pressure when the war broke out on reducing
also
its relationship with Russia.
Economy point of view.
Yeah. So look, from a global economy point of view, when a conflict comes to an end and there's more certainty on the future, that's always good, right? So and that, I know it's a very general kind of comment, but the fact of the matter is that when a big conflict comes to an end, there'll be more stability going forward. There's more comfort in capital flows, more comfort in making long-term investments. So from that perspective, I mean, a war coming to an end can only be a good thing for the world.
Of course.
right?
Yeah. But okay, so final question to both of you, which is the, I think that is important for our viewers to also sort of get a sense of when we talk about A, India-US relationship, B, India's future. What, according to you, would be that one thing that you would watch out for that could really change the game when you talk about India's future potential?
As I mentioned, and I think we alluded to this a little bit earlier, when we see India's Google or we see India's sort of Microsoft coming out, I think we will know that the foundation which was laid over the last 15 or 20 years has borne its fruit. And I think we will. I think we'll see global tech winners coming out of India. And for me, I think we'll know that India has arrived.
I'll fix him, love. Poor pet. Just shows you never know what's going to happen. Which reminds me, I need to protect the life we've built. That's why I'm looking into smart family life insurance. Hi, I'd like a quick quote, please.
OK. You can choose a benefit amount up to £750,000, depending on your age. If you're a UK resident aged 18 to 64, you can apply with just a few health and lifestyle questions. For £250,000 of cover, the price starts at just £14.77 a month.
That's less than I thought. And it could help my husband with the mortgage.
Just like families, not all life insurance is the same. That's why we offer the Smart Family Guarantee.
That's good to know.
You'll also receive a 100% advance in the event of terminal illness and 10% cash back on your first year's premiums. That's the Smart Cashback. Plus, you'll also get your choice of a £125 gift card.
Protect the life you've built the smart way. To get a free quote today, call our specialist UK team on 0800 977 5753 or visit smartinsurance.co.uk.
This is an important message for people living with diabetes, from people living with diabetes.
When I was experiencing the symptoms of diabetes, I didn't know what was going on.
You go on the internet and it's full of horror stories.
I didn't understand about carbs, I didn't understand about blood glucose levels.
That's why the support I get as a Diabetes UK member is so important.
You can become a Diabetes UK member for just £3 a month. When you do, you'll receive a practical guide specific to your type of diabetes and a copy of Balance magazine 4 times a year. Plus, you'll help support research that could lead to better treatments for all types of diabetes.
As members, we're all working it out together.
Call 0800 144 5410 or go online to become a Diabetes UK member for just £3 a month. Join us now, because membership can help you learn to live better with diabetes.
Now I'm retired, I can spend more time with my grandson. I'm proud of him and want to help any way I can. Which reminds me.
Welcome to British Seniors, the UK's #1 rated provider of over 50s life insurance.
Hi, I'd like a quick quote.
No problem. We're proud to offer our seniors lifetime guarantee. With 100% of claims having been paid, we guarantee your premiums will never go up and that you'll speak to one of our specialists in the UK.
Well, that's good to know.
UK residents aged 50 to 80 are guaranteed to be accepted. Depending on your age, your loved ones can get a cash payout up to £10,000.
And that money can help with my funeral costs or even be used as a gift. I'll do it.
Plus, when you sign up, you'll receive a £135 gift card and free 24/7 GP advice and health services.
Thanks, Mum, for everything.
Be proud to protect your loved ones with British Seniors. To get a free quote today, call our UK team on 0800 158 552 or visit britishseniors.co.uk.
Kejriwal watched, mainly because of her wide-ranging acceptability by the organisation. Its cadre, she has maintained a low profile, is seen as more accommodating and also dedicated to party work. More importantly, this is also the BJP setting the stage for implementation of the Women's Reservation Bill, Nari Shakti Adhiniyam. Indian society is now used to women as voters, but we need more women leaders, and Delhi has had Sheila Dikshit, Sushma Swaraj and Atishi in the past, and that tradition is only getting strengthened with yet another woman all calling the shots. Now, new Chief Minister Rekha Gupta, you see the visuals there, has had a packed schedule on day one of her government. Soon after taking oath along with her Council of Ministers of 6 leaders this afternoon, she went to her office at the Delhi Secretariat. She met officials and leaders Following meetings and greetings, the first thing the Chief Minister did was to call a cabinet meeting. Rekha Gupta and her cabinet meetings also attended Yamuna Aarti at Vasudev Ghat today. This was her pointer that cleaning of the river Yamuna is going to be very important for her cabinet. Rekha Gupta has also said that her government will soon fulfill the monthly promise of Rs 2,500 to poor women of Delhi. Ayushman Bharat, a big flashpoint between the former Aam Aadmi Party government and centre, is also likely to get implemented in the capital very soon. Cleaning of Yamuna, air pollution, governance, civic issues, water and overall infrastructure. Rekha Gupta and her 6 ministers, Parvesh Verma, Ashish Sood, Manjinder Sirsa, Kapil Mishra, Pankaj Singh and Ravinder Singh have a lot to do in the coming days. What are the challenges, what are the expectations, and more importantly, what needs to be the vision for Delhi when it comes to the new government? We will get voices on that today. Let's first listen into what Andhra Pradesh Chief Minister, also NDA ally, TDP Supremo Chandrababu Naidu said today in this regard. Remember, he was also there for the swearing-in ceremony. He took part in the oath-taking. After that, there was this grand lunch that was organized by the NDA, the BJP, to accommodate, to show all the NDA partners that today is a special day, not just for the BJP, but for the NDA. You see the visuals there. Chandrababu Naidu spoke on what his expectations from the Delhi government are. Let's listen in to what he said.
Highest polluted city in the world is Delhi. Now you will have a free air now. Your health will be improved. And also Yamuna river is going to purify now. All pollution will go. As a matter of fact, everybody is coming to Delhi by saying this is my capital. For the last 10 years, whenever you come to Delhi, you want to leave Delhi immediately because of pollution.
We have Nyuma Gupta of the BJP joining us. We also have Amitabh Tiwari, who is a data expert and also political analyst. We also have Sajjan Kumar, author and political analyst, joining us. Thank you all of you for joining me on this broadcast. It's an important day for all Delhiites. To you, Nyuma Gupta, first. We've had this conversation even in the run-up to the campaign, and I remember you telling us that Yamuna is going to be important for the BJP once it forms the government. Today, the optics of it clearly shows that the government is well intended when it comes to cleaning of the Yamuna, and there seems to be a sense that this is going to be on agenda when it comes to the BJP's priorities. How do you see Rekha Gupta's first day, the cabinet, before that the swearing in, and of course the Yamuna Aarti today? What can you expect in the coming days?
Good evening, ma'am. So, the oath ceremony today was a grand success and saw people from all across Delhi as well as other states attend in large numbers to bless the new BJP government, which has received the people's mandate in Delhi after 27 years. Modi ji and all the other dignitaries graced the occasion, of which I was fortunate to be a part of, making it an absolutely wonderful day. And as you can see, work has already started. We've not wasted any time. There are a lot of challenges in Delhi which we have to fulfill, and we've also got to fulfill all our manifestos within the timelines given. Let's go to the Yamuna. You've seen the Yamuna Aarti just as we've seen visuals on your TV. The new BJP government is absolutely committed not only for cleaning the Yamuna up, but also rejuvenating it to the level that an ordinary citizen can go and spend time at the riverbank without turning away in disgust, as their nose and eyes both are assaulted by the various smells and sights which have been the case in the past 10 years. We are going to give you a comprehensive plan to clean the river, not through guesswork, but through a scientific methodology. And by 2027, we will hope and pray and plan to make this goal happen. And our newly inducted cabinet all are a part of this. So I can assure you that over here, there's not going to be no shirking of responsibility or blaming anybody else for anything. It's all on us, and we are going to commit to what we have planned.
Right. Valid points there. Amitabh Tiwari, we used to talk about Yamuna River quite a bit when the campaign was going on, and the only hope was the noise shouldn't die down until the next political showdown. Today, on the first day, the Chief Minister is doing a Yamuna Aarti there. She's somebody who understands the BJP and RSS way of working. So optics-wise, there is so much of Hindutva there. At the same time, there's also talk of substance, because this is going to be an important agenda for the BJP, but it is going to be difficult. How do you see the move by Delhi cabinet today to make a collective appearance, because you also see all of them standing together. It is also an expression of unity there. How do you see the optics that is being played out today? What is the larger messaging that the party is trying to give out?
See, the river Yamuna holds a special place in Hindu culture and religion, and the cleaning of the Yamuna, the drinking water issue, all became big issues during the election campaign of Delhi. It was very acrimonious campaign, even to the extent that the Arvind Kejriwal and the Aam Aadmi Party blamed the Haryana government for the drinking water rules of the people of Delhi. So, since the Prime Minister himself has made a commitment that he will under his guidance, the cabinet of Delhi will lead to the cleaning of the Yamuna, and there will be rejuvenation of the river. Also, some people talking about making a riverfront like Sabarmati. So it is on the first day itself we see the entire cabinet going up to the river and performing the aarti there. So it's symbolic also. It also shows that the party and the cabinet is fairly committed to resolving this issue, as Yamuna is very important not only for Delhi but for many other nearby states, and it is the lifeline of Delhi in terms of drinking water. So all the ministers were present. It also shows unity. We have Bajrang Panda and Virendra Sachdeva also present, the key strategist of the Delhi victory. So on the first day itself, I think there's a very positive message being sent by the Delhi CM and the cabinet.
So this is, a move that's not just high on optics, but also high on substance, as Amitabh Dwivedi is also pointing out. Yamuna is a river that is that's worshipped by people of Delhi. There are festivals that are dedicated to this river. Chief Minister Rekha Gupta there arriving at the Delhi Secretariat. Those are the cars, part of her convoy. Remember, it's been a packed day for her. She started her day with the oath taking that took place at the Ramlila grounds, and of course then there was a cabinet meeting. She also met her ministers, and then they all went to Vasudev Ghat, where they took part in this aarti. Those visuals there of Rekha Gupta, the Chief Minister of Delhi, the 9th Chief Minister of Delhi, was appointed today, and she took oath today. You see her and her cabinet ministers. There are going to be important meetings today, several important decisions that have to be taken. Let me go across to my colleague Tanushka before I go to my other guests. But we also have Umesh Sehgal, who's former Chief Secretary of Delhi, joining us, somebody who understands Delhi administration. Let me first go to Mr. Sehgal to get a little insight on this. Mr. Sehgal, we all know that Delhi is landlocked when it comes to not just addressing the problem of Yamuna or pollution. It faces a lot of challenges. It's a city-state. When it comes to administration, there are challenges. When it comes to governance, there are more challenges because there are different power centers. What, according to you, should be the top priorities for the new government, and what do you think, where is the solution here when it comes to these confrontational issues such as air pollution, water pollution and governance?
Well, water and air, they are both very, very difficult issues. Let us remember one thing, that the river may be coming through Punjab and Haryana, but when it enters Delhi, it is not this polluted. It is quite clean. It is only after the Wazirabad barrage that the Jamna becomes really polluted. So it is this, basically this channel, which is a highly polluted water which comes in. And it is coming from, to some extent from Gurgaon, but mostly it is coming from the unauthorized colonies which are in the neighborhood of the Nazafgarh Dada. Now, I remember in 1997, Supreme Court said do it in 6 months. It has not been done in 25 years. So it is not going to be an easy task, but it is not impossible also. The first thing to do is that they must get these sewage treatment plants treating at least 90% of the water. It is now treating hardly 50-60% of the water. The rest of 30-40% is going untreated into the river. That has to be stopped. Even if 10% goes, it's bad enough, but it's actually better than 40%. So the sewage treatment plants have to be supplemented. I think you need more sewage treatment plants. I think the present ones should run to capacity, and they must now deliver water which is up to capacity. Now, the other problem is that a large number of areas in Delhi do not have proper sewerage. which areas do not have a sewerage, there must be mini treatment plants, mini sewage treatment plants must be installed there.
Okay.
Otherwise, these so-called stormwater drains, they are supposed to carry on the rainwater. Right. You go to them today, you will find them full of water. From where is that water coming? It is actually sewage, and that goes directly into the Yamuna because they don't go via the
overhaul
sewage
of the
treatment
sewage
plant.
system, the drainage system,
at
and more
least
importantly, having mini treatment plants, ensuring there are these rules that are strictly followed when it comes to releasing of effluent. So many things that need to be done there. Let me also bring in my colleagues here, Tanushka, who joins us from the Yamuna Ghat, and also we have Ishika, who's joining us from outside the Delhi Secretariat. To you, Ishika, first, tell us, it's been a long day for all of us, especially for you. Tell us, what did you see, this whole urgency with which Rekha Gupta operated today? You were the first one to break the schedule of Rekha Gupta today. So it's been a packed day. Tell us, take us through all that she did today, and specifically on what is expected today, because she has also come back to the Secretariat. What can we expect today in the later hours?
Well, Vasudha, it certainly seemed like a very big day and rather a hectic schedule for the newly appointed Chief Minister of Delhi, Rekha Gupta. Now, we have seen that as soon as she took the oath as the Chief Minister, she in fact sprung into action. A lot of symbolism also at the play from her side. First she came at the Delhi Secretariat, in fact took charge as the Chief Minister here in the office, and then directly with her cabinet of ministers went to the Yamuna Ghat and in fact, pledged to clean the Yamuna, as it was one of the big promises that was made by the BJP. Now, just moments ago, we have seen that Rekha Gupta, Chief Minister Rekha Gupta, and her entire convoy. With apart from that, the 6 ministers have also arrived at the Delhi Secretariat. So just in a short while from now, we are expecting that the very first cabinet meeting of this newly formed government will take place, and there we are expecting some big decisions to come out from the first cabinet briefing as well. Now, what are those? Certainly as per the sources that we are getting to know, the primary focus is going to be on the Ayushman Bharat Yojana implementation. So, whether, today itself it is declared that the Ayushman Bharat Yojana will be implemented or not remains to be seen. Also, in fact, the Mohalla clinics, remember, as per, what they had decided, the BJP had decided they will be revamping the Mohalla clinics. But very interestingly, we are also waiting whether what the BJP said regarding launching an investigation into Mohalla clinics, will that be done or not, also remains to be seen. Apart from that, another big point is the CAG reports. Those 14 CAG reports which till now have not been tabled, the BJP had promised to do so, and it remains to be seen whether today they will be deciding on the date as to when will the Legislative Assembly be called for those 14 CAG reports to be tabled. Apart from that, certainly Yamuna, clearly is the focus of this newly formed government. Whether or not the blueprint will come out in this meeting, that is also a big question at the moment. Over to you.
Okay, thank you, Ishika, for joining us with those details. An important day today, and several decisions expected today on the first day. This is a meeting that's not just high on optics, but also on substance, like Ishika is also reporting. Several important decisions with regard to the CAG reports, whether they'll be tabled or not. Remember, these are reports that have also pointed to alleged corruption by the Aam Aadmi Party. And also there's that important decision on Ayushman Bharat and also welfare, giving away 2,500 rupees to poor women of Delhi. Tanushka also joins us. Tanushka, my colleague, reporting since morning today on Rekha Gupta, the new Chief Minister. Tanushka, tell us the whole thing about Yamuna. Tell us the takeaways that you have from this first event that the Delhi cabinet held together. There was a show of unity. There was a show of a collective, approach to work. There is, of course, the worship element to it, the Hindu element to it, but this is also so much about policy as much as it is about politics. What would be your key takeaways from the Yamuna Aarti that took place today, something that Rekha Gupta herself led?
Vasudha, more than this being, a show of unity, this definitely gave out a very strong message from the BJP with respect to hopefully their intent. Definitely speaking, we've spoken about optics and symbolism. This whole Yamuna Aarti, we must understand that oath taking happened just today. Right after the oath taking, there is a brief meeting with the Council of Ministers and the Chief Minister and the PM. And of course, the Chief Minister takes charge of the Delhi Secretariat. And right after that comes to the Yamuna banks for performing an aarti, a ritual, a typical Hindu ritual. So, and while I was here, there were chants of Jai Shri Ram going around when the puja was happening. So that was the atmosphere here. So we must understand that this is something that the BJP has held on to throughout their election campaign with respect to Yamuna cleaning. Since the Aam Aadmi Party in its second term, right at the beginning of it, Arvind Kejriwal had promised that by the end of 2025, he'll get the Yamuna cleaned entirely. However, he has not lived up to that promise, and this is one strain that the BJP picked upon and has, gone on to with. Right after the elections happened, the results came in. The BJP took upon the cleaning of the Yamuna. Garbage is being picked out of here. But of course, it is not that easy. Just picking out garbage of the Yamuna does not clean the entire river. There's much more to this. There are STPs that need to be brought in. There is also water flow that needs to be sorted from different states as well. So it is not a 2-day or a 3-day thing. It is a huge plan, and out here they did bring into focus the fact that their promise of cleaning Yamuna in the next 5 years is something that they're very keen upon. Okay. However, the very fact that also there were these 6 ministers of the BJP along with the chief minister on the very first day of them taking charge, performing ritualistic ceremony here at the Yamuna Ghat, gives across a very strong message to the people as well. Back to you.
Thank you, Tanushka. Let's also listen into what Jay Panda, the National Vice President of the BJP and also the in charge for Delhi elections, said today.
देखिए, स्वयं प्रधानमंत्री जी ने दिल्ली के जनता को आश्वासन दिए हैं कि यमुना जो दिल्ली के लिए एक शर्म की बात होती थी, अभी दिल्ली की शान बनेगी। और पिछले कुछ दिनों से यमुना की सफाई शुरू हो गई है। जब प्रदेश सरकार जो झगड़ा में लगे हुए थे, जो झूठे इल्जाम में लगे हुए थे, वो हट जाते हैं, रुकावट नहीं कर पाते हैं, तो केंद्र सरकार के साथ मिलकर बहुत कुछ हो सकता है। आज जो यहाँ यमुना आरती हुई है, ये एक बहुत बड़ा सिंबल है। और इमीडिएटली इसके बाद पहला कैबिनेट मीटिंग में कई सारे विषय जो हमारे संकल्प पत्र में है, उस पर कैबिनेट निर्णय करेंगे। आने वाले 100 दिन में और आने वाले 5 साल में आपको बहुत कुछ देखने को मिलेगा। एक विकसित भारत का राजधानी जैसी होनी चाहिए, विकसित दिल्ली आपको देखने को मिलेगा।
Well, Sajan, thank you so much for waiting. You heard everybody out. Tell us, a lot of people would think that this is the BJP also showing a great sense of urgency because it's come to power in Delhi after 27 long years. It has struggled all these years to make a mark. Finally, that has happened. It's been a historic win for the BJP. You may also see this as, an approach to